Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Natai. If it's your first time coming to my YouTube channel, thank you so much. First thing you need to do is go ahead and subscribe down below. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I really appreciate and love the support. So by the title of this video basically is titled, why representation matters, and I will be going on, and talking about the importance of representation. What recently sparked my interest on this topic again, or what made me really want to do a video on it, was the recent hiring of Miss Bosma St. John. I think that's how I say it. Yeah, Miss Bosma St. John, that's what her name is, by Uber. She was a former Apple exec. Now she's been brought on and hired by Uber. And also a video that I saw on The Reel, I'm going to play the video for you guys, where Lonnie Lovegood and Adrian Bailon were talking about representation and why representation is important, and the fact that if some companies hadn't really, for Adrian for example, if Disney hadn't said, oh, we need a Latina to come on, onto the show, or we need a Latina to come into the Cheetah Girls, even with, I think she was on 3LW, that's what they were called. They needed a Latina at the time. If it wasn't for people actually opening those doors and wanting other cultures or other ethnicities to be represented, she wouldn't have actually gotten to where she was. It's really important. I'm going to just go ahead and start off and show you guys the video. Stay tuned.
If it wasn't for, people really making initiatives to, for racial, what am I saying?
Equality?
There we go. If it weren't for people trying to make initiatives for racial equality, I would not be in this seat right now.
Exactly.
None of us would be.
That's true.
Almost every opportunity I've gotten actually might have been because somebody was looking for a Latina.
Yeah.
So it's actually benefited me because they were trying to diversify. Whether it was on the Disney Channel, they were creating the first ever multicultural, majority minority cast with the Cheetah Girls. If it wasn't for them looking for Chanel, a Latina girl, to play a Latina, a positive Latina role model on Disney Channel, I wouldn't have got that role. In 3LW, it's the same thing. It was specific. It was the Latin explosion. Ricky Martin had just performed at the Grammys, and they're like, we're going to do a girl group, and we're throwing a Latina in there.
Yeah.
I think if you make the initiative, you get what you're getting here right now, is that everybody is represented.
Yep. Right.
And I think that that's fair.
That's why I get so passionate.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate.
Yeah.
It's so many opportunities, and there's so many people out there that are trying.
We never have Kleenex here for us.
Oh, sorry.
But it's so true. And if you didn't get that
I'm not supposed to be here. You realize I grew up in the projects where I've seen people shot. I've seen people on drugs. I am not supposed to be here, but God had a purpose for me, and I want that to happen for anybody, any child that is, when people say, why are you so into television? I really fight to stay on TV because I grew up as a latchkey child, and the only thing I had was television to show me a different world. And I get so many letters from people out there, and children especially. That's why I'm really, passionate about children. I try to work because I know that there's some of you out there that you may be lost, you may be, indifferent, but I try to be that example of if I can make it, you can make it too. And so there's no excuse.
If you guys want to see the whole video, I'll leave the link below. Basically, what the video was mostly talking about was it was education in the US for minorities, because somebody had posted a comment that black people are dumb, and that's the way, that's why. So if you watch the beginning of the video, it goes all into that. But what really caught my attention was the part when they talk about all the representation and everything, because if you guys have watched one of my previous videos on being a black girl in computer science, or facing the imposter syndrome and everything, if you haven't, go ahead. I will link it, or I'll put a cue card, or I've also just linked it down below in the description box. Please go check that out so that you understand why I'm even putting or even talking about the importance of representation. There's not that many, women even just period in the field, and it's really important, not just in computer science, but in every aspect, as these women have even shown, even in television, that that representation is really important, because it not only just opens doors for other people that follow behind you, but it gives people a voice. From that video that I posted, I really thank you guys like for watching it, and I really do appreciate all the kind comments that I was getting from people. I even appreciate people reaching out to me on social media and stuff. Like one story that really stuck out to me was from one of my subscribers who's like an African girl, Ethiopian, so East Africa, you guys are doing good. She's currently at Microsoft, which is so amazing. But she was just also talking about, that fear, that imposter syndrome, and also pointing out the fact that there's only maybe one other woman of color who's of African descent too, and the fact that she felt scared to even just go up and like look for mentors like all the other interns were doing that year. And it also just goes back to that importance of also being represented, because sometimes if you don't see other people ahead of you doing these things, or if you don't see other people that look like you getting into some of these things, or people like being around you, there's that thing, or there's that fear that also goes in instilled in you, still drifting back like all into the imposter syndrome. But basically it's really important to be represented, because even you feel a lot more comfortable sometimes when you walk into a room and you see people that look like you. And yeah, there will be some situations where you have to suck it up and just deal with it. Like this summer, for example, I was working the whole summer, and for most of the time I was like the only black person in the room. You suck it up and you deal with it, but there is like a little part of you when you see other people that look like you in the place, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's something. So just going back and drawing back to the whole representation thing that I saw in this video, is that it's like, what did I write over here? Oh, sorry. It's really important, because think about that little girl, like Lonnie even talks about, watching things on TV, or seeing different things, or like actually seeing somebody that looks like you doing something that you've actually wanted to do. It actually lets you feel like, oh my gosh, if that person is doing it, I can do it too. And that's one thing that like has driven me and made me so passionate, especially about getting women into technology, women of color especially, and women of like African descent, because there's not that many of us that you see there. And I really do strongly feel very passionately about like technology and stuff, because that's basically where the future is going. And I feel like every race, every like demographic should be represented in this field, because this is where the future is going, and all of us deserve to like have a piece of playing a part in like this future that we're shaping, and this future that we're building. Like, yes, there's all these like singularity theories and all this stuff that's going on, like, yeah, with there's just so much that's going on as we're moving in technology right now, and the world is developing and changing so much. We all need to be a part of this, and every single like demographic needs to be represented. And like I speak for my demographic, which is basically like women of color, but like Latinas need to be represented, all these other minorities that are in this field or coming in, like we all need to be represented in this, and we just like need to go in and like go ahead and do this. And it also helps a lot with like your motivation factor, because sometimes the whole seeing is believing thing. I had this conversation with I think in the beginning, when we first started, like I had a conversation with my boss when we were talking about, I was explaining to her like how I just always wanted to get into technology, and even though I didn't see like many women of color or women that looked like me or had the same background as me even getting into this, and even like looking and thinking I must be like, I think maybe the first woman even in my family to even get into this, if not the first, because one of my cousins is in IT, and that's something that me and him always bonded over. So yeah, it's just, I looked at it and I was like, okay, fine, well, there's not many people that look like me in that. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm still gonna do it, because if not, I want to be like the first or one of the few people to go ahead and just open that door for more people to follow behind me. And when me and my boss were talking about that, she was telling me that it's very intimidating and it's very scary. She's Latina, and she started her own company actively with 2 V's. Go ahead, download the app on it's available on iOS and on like Android Play Store. But basically the importance and the gist of the conversation that we had was that it's not really easy sometimes, even like getting all the guts to just gather up and say, okay, fine, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna be the first one to go ahead and like do this. But not everybody can go through and break through that and like just be like, oh, okay, let me go ahead, because you don't even know what struggles you face. You don't even know what like you're going through, you're going into. From, for example, that video that I last posted, I've had women in the field that have been commenting and telling me all these things and everything. If it wasn't for them, I'd be just walking blindly and just stepping into things. And yes, it's really like, it's true that every single person has a completely different experience, but sometimes looking and seeing somebody else that looks like you having done something that you've always done, actually, like, it motivates you, and it actually makes something, like, it's a thing. So even like with the subscriber that I was talking about that's currently at Microsoft, we were talking about how for a lot of like African women going into this field, it's still kind of like a hit or a miss. Like, we're just treading on like unknown territory, because this is a field that even our parents haven't explored. And as much as they would love to, you know, help out, tell me, like, I'll tell you, my mom is the sort of person who, she's always wanted to protect me from everything, and she's always wanted to like make sure that I walk into a situation knowing. But technology wise, this is even a field that like she doesn't know about. And I know for a fact if she did, or for something she had gone into, she would want to say, okay, baby, go ahead and do this, baby, go ahead and do that, you know, just be that role model and be that figure. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And it's like walking in and trying out some of these things without even seeing some people that have done it. It's kind of like really scary, and it can be demotivating sometimes. But when you're represented and when you see people that are like you doing and achieving some of these things, it gives you role models, and it gives you people to fall back on, and people to like go back and talk to, like, oh, okay, so what do I do over here, what do I do over that, and like all these things. This is why like every time I meet a woman in technology, I get so excited, because it's like, oh my gosh, this is somebody. And especially if they've made it and they're like in the field, in the industry, there's just so many questions that you want to ask, so many things that you want to go ahead and see. And the most important thing, it's like that little girl in me just looks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, she did this, she looks like me, I can do this. That's the same for every single minority, every single demographic. And this is why it's like really, really important for us to be represented in whatever it is, because we're opening doors not only for ourselves but for people that follow through behind us. And I really do like commend companies with all, you know, companies that have been really trying to diversify and like make sure that their companies have more minorities in. Because just like Adrian Byron said, this like Latina initiative that they had started with her gave her a chance, and it gave her an opportunity to start up and open up something. And you know, for another Latino girl growing up in the Bronx and like looking up at her and seeing her on TV, they most probably just thought, oh my gosh, like, if Adrian can do this, I can do this, and I can dream about these things and have, like, you know, it's something. It makes an impact. It tells you, it shows you different career choices. I'll tell you a little story. I brushed upon this. I didn't really go deep into it when I did my Drill My Life, like my coding story video, which I'll put another cue card and I'll link it down below. Check that out if you haven't. But the first computer scientist that I ever met, I think I was 14 or 15. We had gone to a sporting, I think it was a college outreach or event like that. And at the time, you know, as students, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever, we're going to get told the same thing. Because our school used to brush us, and like, you know, they used to, not brush us, they used to take us to all these like college initiative like events, and they're like, okay, go meet students that, you know, have gone to school in Lesotho too, just like you guys, and like, excuse me, and I'll go into like these top universities in South Africa, like go see that, and also see that you guys can also do that. And sometimes it'd be like, oh, you know, you're taking up my Saturday when we were younger. But the older I got, and even now, I appreciate it more and more, because we met students that like had gone to the same schools that we had gone to. They'd walked like the same hallways and everything, and they're telling you, oh my gosh, like we go to UCT, that's one of the top universities in Africa, and they tell you like we're doing well. So that was motivation, and was like, oh my gosh, like we can do this too. So everyone was just like naming all their majors or the degrees that they were pursuing. And this girl, I still even remember how she looks vividly, because it's something that stuck to me even though I didn't take it that seriously. But now it makes so much more sense. She said she was at University of Cape, was it University of Cape Town? No, Stellenbosch, and she was studying computer science. And like, in my head, it stuck to me. I was like, what is computer science? Like, what is this? You know, like, what is this? So then everybody got to branch off and go and talk to all, like, everyone that was, you know, got to, like, go talk to the students and go find out more about college life, and go find out more about, like, the degrees that they studied. So I went up to her with not that many people, because I think for most of us it was the first time even finding out. I had never heard at the time what computer science was, and it's crazy because some kids grow up like from a very young age. They already know what's going on because you know they have people already in that field and they have people that they can look up to. For example, like I was at a summer camp that I was teaching here, and a lot of these kids, yes, they come from privileged families, but they've seen a lot of people within their families do or pursue careers that even like I hadn't even heard of. And these kids are sitting down like ages from 10 to 13. The biggest, like their biggest struggle or the biggest thing that they're facing right now is just worrying about like which school to go to, like which college to go to or which degree to pursue and stuff. And it's like, it's mind blowing. I look and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, you know, I knew very little at the time when I was like their age or even older. So that cut, but this is when like my supervisor at the time was like, no, like do research, go find out more about it. And I found out more about it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is something I could actually do. But for the longest, this is not anything that I ever thought like, you know, had ever thought about or had ever seen like any African women doing. And to this day, when I think about black female like computer scientists of African descent, I don't even think I can count 5 that I've met in my life. So counting off of my hands, the first computer scientist that I met her at the age of 15. Didn't really know what it was, but that conversation that we had stuck at the back of my mind, and it's something that was like, you know what, that's another career option, that's something that can be done. The second one that I ever met, and this is crazy, was at the Google Scholars Retreat this summer, and she's Kenyan and like she's a TPM technical programming manager at Google now. And when you kind of look at that and you look at the figures, if you kind of think, even like with a lot of people that I meet and they ask me, oh okay, so what are you majoring in? And I'm like, computer science. I was on an Uber recently and this guy was like, oh wow, like that's really rare, you don't really find like that many African women going into it. It's true. And it's little things like that where it's so important that everyone is represented, because just by seeing that you're motivated and you think, oh my gosh, like that's something. Like talking about the lady that I met at Google, I found out a completely like something else, or something else that I can like branch into within the computer science field. I always knew that, you know, long term being a developer is not like the peak of my career. I either want to be like managing the projects. So through a school project event, like, you know, class project thing, I found out about being a software architect, as I was like researching different careers, and that's what I did within the group. So basically you plan all the structures and like basically, you know, oversee everything. That's what the software architect does, but it's not something that you're going into initially. So that was something I was like, that's something really cool. And then when I met that lady, her story is so amazing because she was hired pretty much like fresh out of college and straight in to be a TPM, and that's something that's really rare. Even she said it, like, you know, it's not really the case. Even like Google told her that no, that wasn't the case. But now she's a TPM, and on top of that, her job is still like the way everything is still run, even though she doesn't have like that many years of working experience, but she's absolutely amazing and they trusted her with it. She gets to code too, which is also like another little rare thing. Like TPMs don't code as much, but she still gets to like code and do all that stuff. So it was looking and seeing someone else that looks like me, or someone else that has or will share sort of like a close background to what my backstory is, and looking back at it and saying, oh my gosh, like there she is, she's going and she's doing something. And that's something now that I look at it and I'm like, well, you know what, long term I want to be a TPM. And it wouldn't have been something that would have been as solidified if I hadn't seen somebody else that looks like me. Or okay, so I had to cut some part because I was lost in the jumble of what I was trying to say. But basically, representation is really important, and in whatever field it is, in whatever you're doing, or like whatever it is, it's really important, because people behind you or somewhere, people are looking and thinking, oh my gosh, like I could do that too. Or you open up doors and broaden someone else's like horizons. And you know, a lot of the time, a lot of people will go on about how representation is so important within media, like TV, what we see in magazines and everything, and that's because all that stuff is spread all over. It doesn't matter where you are, whether like you're that little African kid somewhere in a very like poor village or somewhere. If there's electricity and you have like a television, you see things, you see a different world, and you see what the world could be. And it's even like, it's even more meaningful when you see people that look like you actually living and attaining some of these things, because what it solidifies is it puts into retrospect in your mind that, oh my gosh, they look like me and they're doing it, I can do it too. So I hope that made sense, but basically this was just me talking about, you know, why representation is really important, and I was just basically inspired by that video. Go ahead and watch the full video. It's like, it's really touching and it's really, really nice. And yeah, this is something that I'm like really, really passionate about, and something that I'm really like going in and working and focusing on dedicating my career into, and even using YouTube as a medium. I just want to, you know, talk a lot more about this and like encourage more women to get into the technology field. If you're watching this video and you're in another field, and you know, you're a minority, or your demographic is not really represented in whatever field you're pursuing, social media these days is offered us a platform to talk to so many people from, you know, all over the world. Go ahead, use it, you know, to spread positivity and to speak about whatever positive message you want to spread. But anyway, let me see, is there anything else that I wanted to say? No, not really. Nothing else I really wanted to say. Just that, yeah, it's really important that we're all represented, because we live in such a diverse, you know, world. Every single person should be able to look up and see somebody doing something that, you know, they've always wanted to do, and that's also another motivating factor. But thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, still, please subscribe. I know like this channel is still small, it's still growing, but I've slowly figured out exactly what I want to talk about, and you know what I want to like use this medium, which is YouTube, to say, and like, you know, all these little issues that I want to talk about, and all these like little topics in society, and things that I'm going through my career, or things that I'm seeing daily. But please leave comments. I really love and appreciate all the comments that you guys leave in my videos, because it just lets me know that, okay, I'm doing something right, or people see this, or I'm actually putting out something meaningful. So I appreciate that. Hit the like, smash that like button. Let's get as many likes as possible, and leave as many comments as you can, and subscribe if you haven't. Please subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. You can definitely check out my other videos, like over here, just click on them. I've linked my other video on being a black girl in computer science, and I've also linked my Draw My Life, my coding story, and down below I've put links to all of my other videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys continue watching my videos. Reach out to me on social media. My social media will be put up, and it's also linked down below. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this. Bye.